Betty, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Cathy. I am very proud of some of the interviews you have done, so I feel very honored that I am here today.
Thank you, Betty. You are a lawyer, you're a politician, and also a banker. You have a lot of the first, right? First Chinese American woman passed the bar test in Southern California until 15 years later, a second Chinese American woman. And the first Chinese woman who founded a bank. And you were former mayor of Monterey Park and also 2 terms of city council on the city of Monterey. So I think a lot of people should know about your stories and also how you view a lot of the issues that Americans care about. So first of all, how you became the first Chinese American woman who passed the BART test in Southern California back in like early 1960s, right?
My great-grandfather went back to China as he got older because he could not be buried here in the United States, so he went back to China to be buried. My father, as the oldest son of the oldest son, came over to America. So every once in a while, a block away from Skid Row, we would go out to the country where we were farming Chinese, particularly Chinese produce. And at that time, we did hire illegals to work on the farm. And I, as a young child, would, when we went out there, would work alongside with them. But when we saw the immigration officers coming and beat them up, I determined at the age of 9, without really knowing too much about what the law profession was, I decided I wanted to be a lawyer. So that was at 9 years old. Little did I realize that today I have such empathy for the Border Patrol agents, and it is in the reverse of where I stood at that time with reference to observing the illegal aliens that were coming over to the United States. My parents, of course, did not support me in that decision because they wanted me to be stereotyped into being a nurse, secretary, or a teacher.
How hard was it to pass the test, bar test at that time? How did you do it?
Passing the bar was much easier than sustaining the daily activities in law school because I was only one of 4 women in my class, in a class of over 200 law students. I was called on almost every day in at least 1 or 2 classes a day. I was the only minority woman with very little family support. In fact, I went to a very prestigious law school at that time, the University of Southern California. And because it had such a great reputation, all of the students got interviews set up by the school because the prestigious law firms would call the school and the school would set up the appointments. I was the only student that did not get an interview. And upon inquiry, I was told that I would not be provided for interviews because not only the doors would not be closed in my face, because the doors would not even be opened when I appeared before it. They told me I wouldn't have any interviews. I went out and I found my interviews, but I was rejected at each of them. So I started working at the law office where I was working as a secretary. I made less money as an attorney than I did as a legal secretary, but that opened doors for me because no one should set your standards of what you can achieve.
Early in your life, so it sounds like you did experience discrimination.
Yes, I did. Cathy, I don't know whether it was racial. I don't know whether it was because of my gender, but nevertheless, it did exist.
Now there's this controversy about this racial discrimination, saying United States is systematically discriminatory. So how do you think of that?
I do not believe that there is systemic racism in the United States based upon what I observed and what I personally experienced in my younger days. I really felt that God had given me the opportunities to advance in the career of an attorney where I could help dispel some of those racist ideas in the past. For instance, I helped start the first Chinese American senior home project in Los Angeles, Chinatown. I also helped with reference to the first consolidation of medical services in high-rise buildings in Chinatown. I also started the first financial institution that would provide home loans for the Chinese community. I also was able to be hired to become an attorney where I represented the Los Angeles Unified School District and Los Angeles Community College District, where I was able to help minorities advance in their educational careers, as well as making sure that we were not discriminating against the Asians.
What made you be able to succeed under such an even harsh situation?
I think it's important for young people to remember that you should not allow other people to set your boundaries of how you succeed. You need to believe in yourself and not be afraid to fail. It requires work. It requires sacrifice. And I do not believe that it is unfair and that it is not equitable for somebody to work harder than someone else in order to achieve, because only you can prevent yourself from meeting the goals that you want to meet. Because if you can't reach it one way, you can reach it another way. It took me approximately 5 or 6 years from the first time I tried to organize and get a charter for a financial institution that would give home loans to the Chinese. But I did not give up. And now we are celebrating our 50th anniversary of giving thousands and thousands of loans to help Chinese and Chinese Americans enter into the mainstream of American prosperity.
Right now, it's discussed, among the Chinese community is that the states like Texas are trying to legislate 4 countries, including China, from buying farmlands. So some Chinese Americans understand why, but some putting up the parades to protest such legislation. And some saying, oh, it's going to be another wave of Chinese Exclusion Act. So what do you think of what's happening with this issue?